Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, we've got more information on the new hero, or what could potentially be the new hero. So what we've got here is an image that was tweeted out by the Overwatch Twitter account. This is Efi's to-do list. Now, if we look at this quickly, we're going to go into more detail on this in a second, so don't worry. We've got an Axiom chip. We've got potentially the face of the new robot. We've got OR15 chassis. We've got Branford arm, whatever the hell that is. We've got this crazy drawing. We're going to go into detail on that as well. Fusion driver. You what? Miniature double-steam reactor. Well, we kind of know what that is, but we'll get into detail on that in a second. Paint. The colours that she's going to use. Axiom vocal processor. Well, she's got that because we can see that on the picture. And Lucio O's, which is the worst use of grammar ever. And then we've got like a little kind of Numbani style graphic. We've got a wrench with a number on, although I think that number's nothing important, so I don't think that's like a hidden release date or anything. And then we've got this big blue thing, or the thing which is drawn on some sort of hollow slate thing. We've no idea what that is. So let's go into detail on this. Look at this. This is the face of the new hero, we suspect, right? She has drawn this, so what could that be? Well, if we look at the OR15 bots from Numbani, they look pretty similar, right? Those things on the head could be seen as horns. Maybe she could kind of, I don't know, bend them. Maybe she's just straight up using the head of an OR15, because we know she wants an OR15 chassis, which kind of leads us to other things like, yes, that's probably a quadruped and all of that good stuff. So yeah, I think that kind of looks the same, doesn't it? I mean, it looks the same to me. I mean, the next thing we've got is the Branford arm. Now, I have literally no idea what that is. This is probably something Blizzard are going to tell us about in the future, I suspect. But yeah, so this is the OR15 chassis. Again, just to reaffirm the whole idea of a quadruped hero. We know from the Ankara leak on 4chan that it could be a quadruped hero next. We know that these bots, that is a quadruped bot that has been smashed. Its legs have been ripped off, and it's on the floor. So if she's using the chassis of that bot, that would be the entire thing. And I guess maybe the chassis would include the head, which is going to maybe do some different sort of design to it, like with the spikes instead of the whatever the hell is on its head there. So yeah, this is Branford arm, as we say. No idea what that is. The green thing, though, this is interesting because this could be a number of things. If we look at that, if we say that green thing is, I don't know, an atom, well, it's got 7 electrons around it, which means it's nitrogen, right? Now, if you look at the nitrogen atom, you've got 2 atoms in close orbit to the nucleus, which we kind of have on the green drawing, and then we've got 5 atoms in a more distant orbit. I have no idea what that means, and I have no idea if this is connected. Just like, I've got a bit of a sort of a physics and chemistry kind of history, so to me, I was like, oh, that looks like a nitrogen atom, but whatever. Fusion driver, this is a interesting thing. I think this is a melee weapon, right? I think this is a futuristic pile driver. It makes sense, right? These are pile drivers. Imagine if you had one of these, but instead of actually, you know, being a piece of metal that slams into the ground, it's actually a small, like very short range, like fusion energy beam. It makes sense if you've got a Tobelstein reactor, doesn't it? Well, it kind of does, doesn't it? I think it does anyway. I mean, it might not be, but it might be. Again, we don't have any solid evidence. So what about the mini Tobelstein reactor? Now, we know this is the thing inside Zarya's weapon. The reason why we know this is because of this spray. This is, well, it's called the Tobelstein reactor. That is exactly what is inside Zarya's weapon. So we know for sure that she's powered by that. I mean, she even goes, Tobelstein, or whatever she shouts about when she uses her ultimate. So it's all linked together. That is the power source. Look at it. That thing is the power source in Zarya's weapon. Now, this thing's got a few sort of implications. We know that it's gravity-based technology. We also know it can project energy shields. So, does that mean that whatever the hell Efi is building will actually turn out to have some sort of gravity component, turn out to have energy shields and beam weapons? Well, I think we're probably going to speculate on that towards the end of the video, but if you look at the fusion driver, well, my whole idea with the fusion driver was it's some sort of short-range beam weapon. Well, that's a beam, right? Because it's powered by the Tobelstein reactor off Zarya's weapon. And yeah, I think that's very, very interesting. So what we're going to move on to now is look at the paint section. Now, this, honestly, these are the colours of Numbani, you could say. The kind of African-themed colours. You could also say they're the colours of Lucio. Now, we know that Efi seems to like Lucio because she's eating the Lucio O's. Not Lucio's, for God's sake, Blizzard. So maybe it's just like, whatever, it's a colour scheme. We don't really know too much about that. Next thing we've got is the Axiom vocal processor. Now, this is interesting because it's actually on the page itself. So this thing here, it looks like a piece of RAM that you put into your computer. That is apparently a vocal processor, which, well, confirms that it's going to have a voice, which, well, it needs to have a voice, doesn't it, for all of those voice lines, whoever the hell is the voice actor, come on, Terry Crews. So, yeah, what the hell is Axiom? Well, Axiom is advertised all around Numbani with this very sleek kind of robot. We don't know what Axiom actually is. We know that they now produce components for Omnix, but Are they based in Numbani? We don't know. We just know they do a lot of advertising there. It makes sense, right? Because Numbani is where a lot of Omnics and humans live. So, yeah, and I don't think that robot in the picture is actually going to be the new hero because it's not a quadruped. It's not an OR-15 body. This is where it gets interesting, though, because if we look at these last things, we just ignore Lucio O's because whatever, that's there for the lols, I think. We've got like a little African kind of symbol, I guess. Like maybe that's going to be the design on the armor. We've got a wrench with 1519 on. Now, wrenches actually do say 1519, so ignore that. But this blue thing, that blue thing, what the hell is that? Well, I think that blue thing could actually be part of the OR-15s. Now, what we're going to do is zoom in. Now, this is footage that I've taken before, so I've kind of had to sort of edit this because the PTR is down. Is that blue thing that? What the hell is that? Is that the fusion driver? I don't know what that is. Like, is that some sort of containment thing for a power source? Is that where the Toblastein's going to go in? I don't know. Does Toblastein need a containment? Because, well, Zarya's doesn't. It's clearly just slammed into a weapon. It might be. It's very interesting. That might actually be it. What's more interesting, though, is this. Look at this picture, right? Now, we've all seen this before, but look at the robots piled up here. This is by the escalators in the airport. This is where Efi was, I presume, hiding, or she was sort of in this position. But if we actually look at the map, where are they? Like, where are they? They're gone. So this massive commotion happened. Has Efi taken those parts there and started to build her bot with what was left there? Maybe she has. Maybe there just isn't anything there because, well, it would interfere with spawn. I don't know. But that is a very interesting kind of fact, that is. Because it actually is a fact. They're not there. Why are they not there? They were clearly shown in the news picture, but, well, now they're not there. So, let's have a look at this, because what I think we're going to get is we're going to get a hero that looks very similar to these OR-15s, I think. But it's going to have something called a Branford arm. I have no idea what that is. Maybe it's some sort of reference to the Doomfist. There are ideas going around that maybe this OR-15 bot that is actually being built by Efi does use the Doomfist as some sort of melee weapon. I can't see that, because what you've got to remember, that Doomfist in Numbani is actually the second Doomfist. It's not the third Doomfist, which is, again, interesting, because where the hell is the third Doomfist? What the hell does that even look like? What is a fusion driver, though? I think that's going to be a close-range melee weapon. So I think what we're looking at here is a tank hero. We need a tank hero. We absolutely need one in the game. And we need an anchor tank hero. And if we go off the Anchor leaks, well, now it's time to go wild, ladies and gentlemen. Because remember what I said earlier on about the gravity component to the Toblastine reactor? Imagine if this hero actually has some sort of gravity attraction mechanic. It's a smaller reactor, right? We have nowhere does it say that Zarya's weapon contains a small reactor. So let's just assume that Zarya's weapon has a larger reactor. So this means that whatever the hell Efi is building won't have the same sort of Toblastine power as Zarya. So it means it won't be able to create a massive black hole. It won't be able to fire a fairly long-range beam. It won't be able to generate massive balls of energy it can fire. So what will it be able to do? Well, if the fusion pile driver thing, which is what it should totally be called, if that's what it is a melee weapon, then that means it's going to have a very, almost like a blowtorch kind of appearance to it, right? So like a small sort of energy beam, and that it can slam into the enemies. Now, if you look at the OR-15s, well, they've got arms, right? So it makes sense that one of them could be one of these fusion reactor things. The Branford arm, we've no idea what that is. A fusion driver even, not a reactor. The Branford arm, like I said, no idea what that is. We're going to have to find out. I'm pretty sure Blizzard will tell us what that'll be. But this is where it gets interesting, right? Imagine if the gravity component to this hero, if it does have one, because we know Toblastine is based around gravity kind of technology, maybe it can absorb incoming fire. Maybe it can taunt incoming projectiles, right? And then sort of redirect them. Maybe like Titanfall, if any of you guys have played that game, where you can hold a shield up and it absorbs incoming fire, then you can fire it back. I don't think he'll be able to fire it back, but I think it'll be able to absorb the damage, pull it towards itself, or maybe, the green thing, which I thought was a nitrogen atom, and again, I've got no idea if that is a nitrogen atom, and how that would even be connected to the robot. Maybe that's a diagram of this sort of deployable field. Maybe it can drop something down, kind of like Winston, which attracts fire towards it. So you can throw this through choke points, right? And it will sort of like attract all incoming fire to allow your team to move through. What makes me believe we're going to be looking at something like this, where it can taunt damage effectively, is it's kind of a replacement for Reinhardt. Well, not a replacement, but it's a very similar sort of thing to Reinhardt without actually having a big massive barrier walking forward, thus making the same hero as Reinhardt. And I know the guys at Blizzard don't want to replicate heroes. They don't want heroes to have similar abilities, which is why I don't think this hero will have any kind of projected barrier ability like Zarya. Like, I don't think it's going to be able to project a barrier on one target and then project one onto another one and sort of transfer the damage across or something ridiculous. I don't think it's going to do that. I think it'll be more simple. I think it's going to be able to attract fire to itself or to a deployable object. I think it's going to be able to use close range melee attack with a, like, in this fusion kind of weapon setup, and I think it's going to have a ton of armor. I think it might actually be sort of like a pre-D.Va nerf, like with a load of armor. Obviously not as much mobility as D.Va, but this ability to pull fire into itself I think would be absolutely ridiculous when it comes to the game, because that's going to open up a lot of different ways of getting through chokes. And if these Bastion buffs go through today, well, it could kind of be a counter to Bastion in a way, if it can sort of absorb his fire. I don't know, it's going to be interesting. Also, on the topic of today, today is Tuesday, the 28th of February, if you guys are watching this video today, and this is when Season 4 is going to go live. So I doubt we're going to see the new hero on the PTR today. I think it's probably going to be next week. I can't see them releasing two massive major updates at the same time, like a major update to the live game and a major update to PTR, because they're going to have to focus all their effort onto the live game to make sure that it's actually working, because that's where, well, the money is, I guess. I mean, you see, look at this. This Omnic has a completely different, well, I say Omnic. Is it an Omnic? It's Omnic writing, but it's got a completely different Doomfist. The Scourge, that's the Doomfist that's gone missing. It's very interesting, guys. As ever, go wild in the comments below. I've been Stylosa, this is Unit Lost, and I'll catch you next time. Toodaloo.